Okay, so today we are going to discuss on loops. Let's create a new file here, new Python file. I'll say loops.py, enter. Now what are loops? So we have two different type of loops in Python. One is for loop, The second one is while loop. Okay, we first discuss what for loop is. Okay, so loops are nothing but if you want to repeat something a number of times, or if you want to have a condition check until a certain condition is met, you want to repeat your code. So we use loops there, right? So basic loop format is for I, any variable in range, and we'll say how much you want. I'll say 5. Okay. You put a colon after this, hit enter, and what do you want to do? I want to print the value of I. Okay. So what it will give me? It will give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Or starting with 0, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's run. So it gave me 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So range is 5, and so here if you see there's no starting index where you want to start from. So by default, the range values is picked from 0 until whatever value you have given less than 1. It will be always less than 1 here. Now, for the next example, what we want to do here is I'll take for I in range, I'll give 2 comma 10. Now what this prints? Hit enter and print the value of I. I'll comment the first one and I'll run this. It gives me, it prints 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, right? So 2 is my starting index, 10 is my ending index. Okay. Now again a variation in this, we can specify what is the increment value that we want. Okay, so we will say for I in range. Now this time I will again start with 2, go up till 10, and in this keep a increment of 2 each time, right? Now I'll again say print I. Now what this will print? It will print all the even numbers, right? So if you run this, we'll get 2, 4, 6, 8. Why? Because the increment value is set to 2 and we are starting from 2. Then increment 2, 4, increment 2, 6 and 8. And 9 is not printed anyways. 10 is the upper limit. So this won't be included in my loop. Okay. Now same thing if you want to run it on a string, what happens? I'll say for I in, I'll take a string, I'll write Python, okay, colon, and I'll say print I. What will it give me? So it will give me individual characters in my output. Okay, so it printed python. Another thing we have to discuss about print is, now here if I want, by default it will take the print statement. For a print statement, the end of line is considered as the default parameter. So what's happening here? Now I'm printing print I and it is giving me python on a different line. Now what if I want it on the same line, right? So I'll set it as, again the same loop I'll use print I comma end is equals to, how do you want to end it? Say I just want space separated, so I'll just give a space here and I'll run this. What it gives me? The first one gave me Python on a new line. The second one gave me Python on a same line with space separated. Now, if you also wanted to have a dot here or some other value, say you wanted to generate a CSV here or in a CSV format, so you just give a comma, hit run, and it will give you comma separated, right? So this is the delimiter that you want to set when you are printing. All right, moving on. Now, if we take the first example, I'll take the first example and I'll come here, I'll write the same code here. And these for the next example here, what I want to do is I don't want to print 3 here. Apart from that, everything else I want, right? So what is one way to do that? I'll write if I is equals to 3, right? Then what do you have to do? You don't have to print anything, right? So to not print anything, you will just have to give a command pass. Okay. If not, then print I, right? Now let's see what happens. No, this has to be in else part, right? Else print I. What happens here? So if 3 is not here, if it was 3, you don't have to print anything. And if it was 3, you have to just pass it. You don't have to do anything. Just ignore 3 and print everything else, right? Now the same thing if you want to have a loop which does nothing, right? Like this is a very rare scenario. Say you wrote a loop and you don't want to do anything inside it. So you just blindly write pass there and everything inside it will be ignored. But if you just write it like this, right? If you just write a for loop just like this and you keep it without any statement, it will throw you an error, right? So if you want to have this loop and you don't want to use this loop right now, so you just have to write pass here. So then this is a valid statement in Python, right? So this was on for loop. Now the next one that we have is while loop, right? So this was the basic structure of a for loop. Now if we have to talk about while loop, let's comment this one / So while is basically entry controlled. Okay, so every time it comes inside, it will check for a condition, then only it will go inside the loop and do the steps, and it will recheck again before entering. So a entry control loop looks like while a condition, while I'll say a number is greater than 2 and number is less than 10, then you go inside and print my number, then I am incrementing the number. Now before this I'll have to define a variable number is equals to 2. Now I'm getting an error because of this capital W. Okay. Yeah, this is fine. So number is equals to this and you go and increment the number, right? Now what happens? Will it print anything? Will it print anything? No, right? Because if I run this, it prints nothing. Why? Because I have given 2 here, and since my number is 2 and which is not greater than 2, so it won't enter here, right? So this is my entry control loop. So only if this condition is satisfied, then only it comes inside this loop, right? So I'll give my number as 3. Now what it will do? Now it prints 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So again, the exit criteria here was if it was less than 10. So 9 is less than 10, so it stopped. So this was kind of we have combined both the relational and logical operators. But if you have to just simply see what a basic while loop is, you just have a number. Let's say number equals to 1. Let's say number is, I initialize number as 0 and I'll say while a number is less than 10, print number and then number plus 1, right? Now what it will do, it will come here, number will be less than 10, so it will start printing number and incrementing the number values. So it will print from 0 to 9. Again, here I will set it as n is space separated. Okay, I'll run it. What comes as an output? First one gave me 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 3 is coming from here, so ignore this. So let's comment this one and run it for better. Oh, yeah. So what it gives me an output of this, right? I'll say, I'll just add it here. This is my output. Add comma n. Right, let's comment the first one. Run this. What do I get? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Clear? And then there is a concept of infinite loop, right? I'll say while true. So here I'll say print hello, right? So if I leave this to execute, it will be executing for infinite number of times. Okay. And to stop this, we have to use another keyword called break, right? Correct. So what happens here? I run this. Let's comment this one. If I run this, so right now what it will do, it will go check if condition is true, it's true. It will print hello and then it will break the loop, right? It won't run for infinite number of times. So it just printed hello and it exited. Let's modify it in such a way that when n is equals to, let's say n is 0 and I want to again break it at 10, right? So I'll say if, I'll write here if n is equals to 10, then you break the loop, right? If not, in else I'll give else, what do? You increment my n value with 1, right? And I'll print here as, I'll print the I value or the n value. Yeah. Now let's see what happens here. All right, let's run this. Now what did this print? So the first time it printed 0 because it was true, and it continued till 9 when the n value became 10. Ideally, the n value, the value of n became 10 and it exited here, right? It exited the if statement, then it again went to my while statement and it checked here while true. So it says there is no condition that I'm checking here. Even if n was 10, I should have broke this, right? But n became 10 here. You're getting me? What we did, if n value is 10, we are breaking this particular while loop. But consider n was 9 this time, right? N was 9 here. When n was 9, it came here, it checked. Is n equals to 10? So it says yes. Or let's take this one here. Let's take this here. And run it. Right? Now what happened? You saw 0 went off. Why? It's because it was 0. It came, it incremented, and then it came here to the print statement. Earlier we were printing here itself before the increment. Right? So that's the reason when it was 9, it came here, it checked as 9, yes, n is not equals to 9, it incremented it to 10, it again went up and it used this print statement to print 10. and then it went ahead and checked if n is equals to 10, then it broke the loop, then it stopped the loop, right? So this is one thing that we need to be aware of. Break, this is another keyword that we will frequently use in loops, right? Say you are searching a big data and you find something in your loop. If you find the exact value that you were looking for, you don't have to iterate the loop further, you just break the loop there, correct? So let's take the same example. Let's take this break example in our for loop also. Let's comment this. Now for loop, I'll write first for I in range of 10, right? And I'll give a colon, enter. Now if I is equals to, let's say 5, and then what do you want to do? You want to break this, right? And I'll say print I, right? So if it is going to break at 5, it doesn't make any sense to write it in an else clause, right? Because anyways, this part of the statement will be executed. Only when it is 5, it will break the loop. If not, everything else here is executed, right? So I'll just run it this way. What it prints? It says 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So this range starts from 0. It went until 5. Now here, if you'll see the difference, you don't have 5 printed here, correct? That is because when as soon as I became 5, it broke the loop. It came out of this loop, right? So if you have your print statement as the first command, right? If you put your print statement here, and if you try to print it, you'll get 5 here, because we are printing it before the condition is checked. All right. Let's keep it here. Let's comment this one. So this is your break statement. Now the next thing that we want to talk about is opposite of this. It's called continue. It's called continue. Now what continue does? It is used to skip the rest of the loop body for the current iteration. Okay, and it moves to the next iteration. So whenever there is a continue encountered, it won't run the subsequent lines, the lines after the continue statement for that particular iteration, and it jumps to the next iteration. Let's take an example on this. We'll start with for loop itself. We'll take for I in range 10, j modulus 2 is equals to 0, right? I'll say continue, right? And I'll say print I. This is I, sorry, my bad. If I mod 2 is equals to 0, continue. What this will do? Whenever it is encountering I mod 2 is 0, like all the even numbers will hit this continue block and it won't be printed. It will print only the odd numbers, right? Let's run this. So it printed 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. Clear? Now if we use the same thing with while, what happens? Let's take another example with both break and continue in while loop. Okay, let's take that. So let's say my count is equals to 0. Okay, now while count is less than 10, I'll say count plus 1, and then if count is equals to 5, I'll say continue. I'll write L if count is equals to 7, I'll say break this. Okay, and this I'll say just print count. What it is doing? So it is trying to run a loop from 0 till 10, or say less than 10 means 9. And in this, whenever the count reaches to a value of 5, it will continue. So it won't print 5, but as soon as it hits 7, so it will break the loop. All right. So what it will print? Now this should print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. 5 is continued, so it won't print, and 6, 7 won't be printed because we are breaking it here itself. So the print statement itself is not executed. Correct? Let's run this. So it prints 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Right? Oh, we are incrementing this value here also, right? So it would not print 0. Instead, it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. You can also have multiple loops or nested loops, right? So how to write that? I'll write it as, let's take one example on that. I'll say for I in range 2. Now I'll write for j in range 3, right? I'll say print I value is I pipe separated, j value is j. Now I don't want to use this format thing. I don't know. I'll just use my f string. So what I have to do, I'll just have to write f here. All right? Simple. Comment this. Run. What it is doing? Now, if you see the outer loop, the I loop. So once I is 0, it goes here, and j continues, or j completes its execution here. So I was 0, and j started with 0, 1, 2, right? It completed one cycle. Again, this loop was ended, the inner loop ended, it went back here. I again got incremented to 2, 1, and then again it came to j completed its execution, and then it kept on printing those values, right? So these things are useful when you are going to navigate you to a table, especially in Selenium. When you are navigating tables, or you want to read a table, you want to publish a table, you will definitely use this I and j concept. This is nothing but kind of a table structure, right? So consider it as rows and columns, right? So you are iterating rows, you are iterating columns. Now there is one more thing here for loops, especially for for loops. We have for I in range, let's say 5 here, right? And I'll say print I. Now there is a else clause also for loops. Okay, you can write here else print the loop executed with no breaks. All right. Now if you run this, what comes out? It will print 0 to 4, and it will print this statement also. Okay, let's run this. So here it's a completion statement, the loop executed with no breaks, and we have this. Clear? Okay. So that's all I wanted to talk on loop. The next one we'll talk about functions in Python. All right. See you in the next class then. Bye bye.